Your grandparents had one job their entire lives. Your parents probably had 3 or 4. And if you're under 40 right now, there is a very real chance that the concept of a job as they understood it will not exist in the same form by the time you reach retirement age. This is not a prediction, it is already happening. In the last 18 months alone, over 500,000 white-collar jobs in technology, finance, and media have been eliminated. Not outsourced, not relocated, eliminated, replaced by software, AI systems, and restructured workflows that require a fraction of the human labor they once did. But here is what nobody is actually telling you about this shift. It is not purely a story of loss. It is also the story of the most significant restructuring of human work in over 100 years. And the people who understand what is replacing the 9-to-5 are positioning themselves on the right side of that restructuring right now. The 9-to-5 workday is not a natural phenomenon. It is not the result of science, psychology, or careful study of human productivity. It was invented in 1926 by Henry Ford. Ford discovered that reducing his factory workers from 10-hour to 8-hour shifts actually increased total output. Workers were less fatigued, less error-prone, and more productive in those 8 hours than they had been in 10. It was a manufacturing efficiency decision, not a human well-being decision. And yet, 100 years later, knowledge workers, software engineers, writers, analysts, designers, and consultants are all still operating inside a framework designed for assembly line production. The work has changed completely. The framework has not. That tension between the nature of modern knowledge work and the industrial era container it is still squeezed into as one of the core reasons the traditional job model is now breaking down. Let's look at the numbers because the scale of what is happening right now is not fully captured by any single headline. According to data from Challenger, Gray, and Christmas, US employers announced over 700,000 job cuts in the first half of 2025 alone, the highest level since the pandemic year of 2020. Goldman Sachs estimates that AI could automate tasks currently performed by the equivalent of 300 million full-time workers globally. Not all of those jobs disappear, but the nature of every single one of them changes. Meanwhile, the World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs Report 2025 projects that 85 million jobs will be displaced by the shift in labor between humans and machines by 2030, while simultaneously 97 million new roles will emerge that are more adapted to the new division of labor. That is a net positive of 12 million jobs on paper. But here is the critical detail that report does not emphasize enough. The displaced jobs and the new jobs are not in the same industries, the same geographies, or requiring the same skills. The person whose accounting job is automated does not automatically become an AI trainer. The gap between those two roles, in skills, in geography, in time, that gap is where the human cost of this transition lives. And it is a gap that is widening faster than most institutions, governments, universities, corporations are moving to address. To understand why this shift is accelerating, you have to understand the incentives on the corporate side. Hiring a knowledge worker in a major Western city costs a company far more than that worker's salary. Add benefits, office space, management, overhead, training, redundancy liability, and the total cost of employment is typically 1.3 to 1.5 times the base salary. An AI system that performs a comparable task costs a fraction of that, operates around the clock, does not require benefits, does not take sick leave, and improves in capability every 6 months without additional investment. This is not a moral argument, it is a financial one. And in a publicly traded company where every quarterly earnings call is scrutinized, the financial argument wins almost every time. In 2025, companies that publicly announced significant AI-driven headcount reductions saw an average share price increase of 4.1% in the week following the announcement. The market is rewarding the elimination of human labor. That signal is not going unnoticed in every boardroom on earth. But this is not simply a story of jobs disappearing. Something is replacing them. And it is more diverse, more complex, and in many ways more interesting than the structure it is replacing. 3 things are emerging to fill the space that the traditional employment model is vacating. Replacement 1, the portfolio career. The first is what economists are now calling the portfolio career, a working model in which individuals hold multiple income streams simultaneously rather than a single employer relationship. According to McKinsey's 2025 American Opportunity Survey, 36% of employed Americans, approximately 58 million people, engage in some form of independent work. That number has grown in every survey McKinsey has conducted since 2016. Freelance consulting, digital product sales, content creation, affiliate income, part-time specialist contracting, these are not side hustles for this growing segment of the workforce. They are the primary income architecture. Replacement 2, the one-person business. The second replacement is the one-person business, enabled by a combination of AI tools, global payment infrastructure, and digital distribution that makes it possible for a single individual to serve a global market at a scale that previously required a team of 10 or more. In 2025, more solo founder businesses crossed $1 million in annual revenue than at any point in recorded history. The combination of AI leverage and global reach has compressed what used to be a team requirement down to a single motivated individual with the right tools. The one-person business is not a niche phenomenon. It is a structural shift in how economic value is being created. Replacement 3, the creator economy. The third replacement and the most culturally visible is the creator economy. As of 2025, the global creator economy is valued at $480 billion and is projected to reach $600 billion by 2027. Over 200 million people globally now consider themselves professional content creators. YouTube alone paid out over $70 billion to creators in the 3 years from 2022 to 2024. Platforms like Substack, Patreon, and Beehive have created direct monetization pipelines that did not exist a decade ago. The creator economy is not just entertainment. It is business education, medical information, financial guidance, technical instruction, knowledge distribution at a scale that traditional employment structures cannot match. Before we close with lessons and frameworks, we need to sit with the uncomfortable reality. This transition is not painless, and it is not equally distributed. The people best positioned to benefit from the collapse of the traditional job are those with existing capital, financial capital to invest in tools and education, social capital to build networks and audiences, and human capital accumulated through years of skill development. The people most exposed to the downside are those in routine cognitive jobs, data entry, basic analysis, customer service, administrative support, roles that AI automates first and that offer the fewest transferable skills toward the emerging work models. Acknowledging that asymmetry is not pessimism. It is honesty, and it is the starting point for making informed decisions about where you position yourself in this transition. So what do you actually do with this information? Here is the framework that the people navigating this transition most successfully are using, distilled into 3 principles. Principle 1. Own your output, not your time. The 9-to-5 sells time, the emerging work models sell output, expertise, and results. Begin reframing your professional value from I am available from 9 to 5 to I produce this specific outcome. That reframe changes everything: how you price, how you market yourself, and how you think about your own career. Principle 2. Build an asset, not just an income. A salary is income that stops the moment you stop working. A YouTube channel, a newsletter, a digital product, a client roster. These are assets that continue generating value beyond your direct labor. The most economically resilient people in 2026 are those who have converted some of their working hours into asset building. Principle 3. Maintain optionality. Do not bet everything on one employer, one platform, or one income system. The single greatest vulnerability in the traditional job model is its single point of failure. Diversification of income, of skills, of relationships is the defining financial strategy of this era. These 3 principles do not require you to quit your job tomorrow. They require you to start building alongside it. Every major restructuring of work in human history felt like a catastrophe to the people living through it. The agricultural revolution displaced hunters. The industrial revolution displaced agricultural workers. The digital revolution displaced industrial workers. And in every case, the people who understood the right direction of change early and who began moving toward the emerging model before the old one fully collapsed, those were the people who came out ahead. The 9 to 5 is not ending overnight, but the trajectory is clear, and the window to position yourself on the right side of that trajectory is open right now. This is what Unseen Drafts does every single week. We pull back the curtain on the economic shifts that are reshaping the world, the real mechanisms beneath the surface that most people never see until it is too late to act on them. If you want to see what is coming before it arrives, subscribe now.